The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in the podcast belong solely to the hosts and not the host's past, present, or future employers. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It's Bryan, Mr. Berlin, and Mr. Betcher for Breaking Down Security.
Yay!
What up?
Ms. Berlin was gone last week, 2 weeks ago, camping, and then internet and my flakiness generally. It wasn't flakiness. I was supposed to take a long weekend. I actually took the Monday off, and I decided that Sunday I would replace all the toilet mechanisms in the back, and that didn't go as planned. So I spent all of Monday babysitting a plumber as he replaced all of our toilets.
Oh my!
Yeah, that was fun. $3,200 later, and we have three brand new toilets that are all the same. One of the issues was not.
You could have paid for my flight, and I could have done it for you for like half that price.
Well, you didn't have the toilets, so the guy actually went and bought them for us, brought them back, installed all the Toto toilets. Thanks for telling me that now. So great. Actually, the cost of the labor alone was like $2,000. So next time,
whoa.
Roughly.
Plumbing is one of the things I actually know how to do fairly well.
When he handed me the invoice, I was like, man, I am doing the wrong fucking job.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah. It was an interesting couple days. So yeah.
And you really don't have to know that much to be a plumber. You only have to know one rule.
What's that?
Shit goes downhill.
Oh, well, that is
pretty much it.
Well, see, the problem was I've replaced those mechanisms in toilets before, so it wasn't a huge deal. But I hadn't done them to all three of the toilets, and they'd all had leaks and stuff. And I, trying to be environmentally friendly. And then I found out we have three different toilets in three different bathrooms, and I was like, all the adapters didn't fit, and one of them has a float that was integrated into the toilet bowl, and the toilets were probably original equipment with the house in 2006. So yeah, I ended up babysitting a plumber all day. Nice guy though. His name was Ben, so he did good work. So I gave him 5 stars on his Yelp or whatever the hell they use for that. But yeah, Miss Berlin, you went camping, and then I saw a post about you, your son graduated Marine Corps boot camp. So congratulations.
Did.
Marine
yeah.
Mom. Oh, cool.
Yep. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It was super cool. Still everything's closed, right? So no in-person graduation, but they stream it live on Facebook.
Oh, cool.
But my brother was his recruiter,
right,
and is E7, so he went.
He's a man now.
That's a gunnery sergeant.
Yeah. So he, Michael was the only person with any family there for graduation.
Really? Okay.
And
was
there
gunnery
were only
sergeant, of course.
Right. There were only 4 people in the stands.
Right.
And then my brother was kind of talking about how he went to eat with Michael after graduation, and everyone was scared to death of him.
Right. Yes.
Which is kind of funny, but
you and me.
Except my son, it's his uncle, but
yeah. It's his last name's not Berlin, so it's not Gunny Berlin or anything.
No.
Yeah, you civilians don't call me 7. Once they've got the chief or Gunny,
it's Gunny. Yeah,
it's Gunny. Yeah. So, but cool. Well, congratulations, Marine Mom.
Very proud of him.
Yeah, appreciate. Thank you for your service now, because you suffer just as much as the people who are in the military sometimes as well. Wondering where your family is, or if you go on long deployments. So
yep.
It completely understand where he's coming from and where you're coming from. So
yeah,
right on, Mr. Betcher. Before we get started with the stories this week, what's going on with you?
Oh, it's I got kids in school, so it's a lot of helping them. We have science fair projects, and we have, of course, we're home, and we have to do PE stuff sometimes.
PE.
And so,
okay.
Yeah, you got to do PE at home. So,
I
we
do.
go out and shoot hoops and walking.
Do you have to sign off the PE, like 30 minutes of basketball check?
Not formally, but they do. They have to say, yeah, I did some PE today.
I picked up some.
Do all their assignments, and we have to do make sure everything gets turned in and stuff.
I'm for those of you watching the audio podcast in your brain. I have resistance bands, and I have my weight bench, and I have my door anchors on my door, and bought a bar that I can use to do chest presses with and stuff. So yeah. There's actually a shortage of actual hard weights. So these are all the weights that I have down there, the little dial-in weights or whatever. But it's interesting. So. And then I took a run this morning. So it's I thought it would be harder, but I don't see myself going back to the gym once we go back to normality, because I think I probably get as good or better workout here because I can work out more often instead of stopping what I'm doing, drive 25 minutes to the gym, work out for an hour there, and then drive 25 minutes back home. So, well, I'm glad your family is active and safe, Mr. Betcher.
Trying to be.
Yeah. Yeah, we're our school system says that they're looking at letting kids go back to school after the first of the year, letting the preschool through kindergarten, which for people overseas, that's like your 5 and 6 and 7 year olds to go to school, because nobody should they shouldn't be sitting in front of Zoom all day. Mm-hmm. So yeah,
my kids are already back in school.
That's nice.
But there's only like 50 people that go to their school, so it makes it really super easy for them to distance them all.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't think we're going 5 days a week. It'll probably be 1 or 2 days a week, and it'll be staggered probably. But yeah, just a little something to get them out of the house. So my daughter, we went and bought. We got 25 pounds of clay. We had to go by the school. We drove up, and they're like, here's your clay. And I was like, clay? It is a 25-pound block of clay. Every kid in clay class gets one. So she's making stuff, and they're going to fire. We're going to have to take them to the school and get them fired and go and pick them up or whatever. It's odd times we live in. So. Yeah. So last week we were supposed to record. We didn't, but this week we're going to record, and we have some stories. We do have some interviews coming up. I really hope that we have both of our interviews that happen this week. We're actually going to be doing 2 interviews, both during our work day. So I'm hoping that those work out. I'm actually going to follow up. Sorry, pull the curtain back. We need to follow up with Tuesday's interview just to make sure that they're going to be available. So remind myself of that.
There's a lot of interviews coming up. I'm very excited.
Yeah. And some hardware.io folks who really want to come on the show too. So I'm talking with the coordinators of hardware.io for maybe some technical discussion about embedded and IoT device system hackage and stuff. So, all right. So first story tonight, 39% of employees access corporate data on personal devices.
So there's 3 of us. This is a pretty accurate representation, right? How many of us on this?
Yeah,
because that's how math works. Yeah. How many of us access, stuff on personal devices?
Corporate data on personal devices.
No.
Neither of you?
Kind of.
Ish?
No, we pretty much can't. We have rules against it, and I don't.
Do they give you a device?
We are switching.
Yeah.
Yeah, because right now, being a startup, they couldn't just buy everybody a MacBook.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But now,
startups, of course. I would think the vast majority, they access stuff on personal devices. Well, hell, when we were back at the place break, we had some of our support engineers actually logging on to production Linux systems with their phones in some cases.
Dang.
But that was way back then, right?
And we were still a startup then, so
yeah. And we weren't in security at that time either.
Yeah, it was. Oh God, yeah, we were a little ignorant about that at the time. Yeah, I guess I do. I have Teams on my phone, so I don't have it on. I don't have Mail on my phone. I just have Teams. So yeah, I do. I am privy to business sensitive conversation. Talking about customers and clients. Any memes that get stored, cat videos, etc., are stored on my machine. So yeah. They taught, of course, they're using this as the threat's amplified in the age of mass remote work and whatever. And I was like, how many companies have you worked for that required you to put your email and a messaging system on your phone? And, I worked at a DoD contractor, and if they gave out phones, people were doing the opposite. They were putting all their personal stuff on their corporate phones.
Right.
And,
yes.
And then they got burned because, we pushed an update that bricked your phone, or, the MDM device screwed up, so now we've locked everybody out of their stuff. I was sitting in a very small room with about 2 other people, and all of a sudden I hear this guy go, "Mother," and come to find out he'd had his phone because he'd worked at the company for about 6-7 years. Same phone, which is sad. But he had all of his pictures of his baby, memories, emails, passwords, everything on that phone, and it got wiped remotely, accidentally, of course. So he lost all of his baby pictures from his sons and daughters when they were younger and stuff. And
cloud backup, am I right?
Well, this was 2011, 2012, I think. So, Google Drive was in its infancy, I believe. Cloud backup wasn't a thing at the time. So now, yes, it would definitely do that. When I worked at CrowdStrike, they were like, "Oh yeah, we want you to have your 2FA," and 2FA is another thing. You got 2FA on your personal device usually. But they were like, "Oh, we need you to have your need to have mail and chat and everything on your phone so we can get a hold of you or whatever." I was like, "Yeah, you're not paying for my phone, so I'm not going to do that." So I bought an iPod Touch and used that and just tethered to my phone because all I needed to do was to run a couple of applications. So
it's a good idea.
Duo Push, email and all that worked fine on an iPod Touch. So, and when I was at home, I didn't need my iPod Touch. So there are options, but yeah, I think people think that, they need a device and it's automatically they go to phone. They don't think, or, they could even have a phone that isn't activated. I have several phones around here that are old that are, probably running Android 7, which is the other thing. It's like, if you don't have the absolute latest phone, you're not running an updated, secured version of Android. Mm-hmm. So you're open to vulnerabilities. My Pixel's running in a Android 11 beta, but if I went and got the Galaxy S7 that my daughter just got rid of, it's running Android 9, which has vulnerabilities all up in it. So anybody using a Boost Mobile or something here in the U.S., they're probably got 7 or 8 on their phone. So having this corporate data on machines that are systems that are not updated is not good. And they say since home networks typically offer security protection inferior to that of which a business can afford to implement, I kind of chuckled when I read that. Researchers expressed concern that attackers could access home networks, then use unprotected personal devices as a stepping stone.
Of course.
Well, okay. It says concern that attackers could access home networks. How would they do that?
I mean, phishing. How they get into corporate networks.
Right, but if they're going to phish somebody, it would be through their work email potentially.
Yeah, but if they're accessing that on a personal device.
Yeah,
well, if
fair.
you're at home, you have a home router and it's severely out of date, it's possible that router can get breached. Mm-hmm. So your home network is breached. You plug in a company laptop in your home network, potentially they could get something, especially if you have the same password for everything.
Right. I guess if they own your home network, how many companies out there are using VPNs that are full tunnel? How many are using split tunnel connections? Which
everyone uses split tunnel.
And arguably that leaves people open to attacks as well, because you could actually pivot potentially through that VPN connection into the corporate environment from the home network. add to it. Little Billy or Jenny's got to, be on their Zoom, and they're just going to click on anything. I do appreciate that my daughter's school system does not allow external email. So the only people that can email are people inside of the district, which is great.
Okay.
Might be something to think about as a corporate environment as well. If you're working from home, why do you need to have external email?
I'd love to turn off external email. I don't think our customers would really like it.
If you're not customer facing, is there a reason to have external email coming in?
Right.
All I get now is spam and internal emails, and I get, hey, we noticed you like to, do stuff with graphics. Do you want to, have this trick? Click delete.
Mm-hmm. When we had a problem with that, we raised that issue, having personal stuff on your company laptop. But when companies outsource to other countries, a lot of times this is the only computer that they own.
Yeah.
Right. It's the only one in the house. So they put on all kinds of stuff, and there's almost no stopping it.
That's fair. Yeah. What are our options there? Be tightening down what you can install on the box.
App whitelisting and not giving them admin access to do anything.
I hear that app whitelisting is hard at scale. Am I wrong on that thought?
Mm-mm. Depends on the organization. If you know what your applications are, it probably makes it a little bit more easy. There's a lot of people that don't even know what applications they have running in their environment. So,
you could probably run against a baseline of what has been installed versus what should be installed.
Right.
But again, that goes to asset management. Do you actually do that? There may be reasons. There may be legitimate reasons for you running stuff on your personal laptop. I know that there's some fairly large companies up here in Seattle that did not have computers available yet for people to be onboarded. So they were like, "Oh, okay, well, you just won't do anything."
And also depends on I think what your risk is, because for us, for example, all of our stuff's in the cloud. We don't actually I don't manage any infrastructure.
Right.
So even if somebody did get access to my stuff, there's not a whole, they could see the queries I write, but I don't have access to source code. I don't have access to so much stuff that it wouldn't be super useful.
Yeah. Now, okay. Personal, I would imagine they are actually storing it on the hard drive itself. If you have everything in the cloud, let's say you use Google Docs, let's say you use AWS VDIs, let's say you use, VMware stuff and that's, connected to something on the VPN out there. If you're not storing anything on the box, is there a real threat here?
Access still.
Okay.
What if I have a bunch of access to all the GitHub source code? Sure, it's on the cloud, but if I can edit it or delete stuff.
Yeah.
Are you, I guess it would depend on how you're doing it. If you're running it locally, git, clone, whatever, pulling that down onto your machine, then that would be a problem. You're going to log in with your 2FA. So hopefully 2FA. But if you're editing that in the web interface or some Electron app that, you have to log into with your, Duo push or your YubiKey or what have you. I think the lines are a little bit blurred here as to what constitutes personal, corporate data on personal devices. If you're just, going in and you're mapping file servers to your personal box, then you probably, that makes me cringy, but
ouch. No, thanks.
Mr. Betcher, do you have any instances where in your experience where people have been doing naughty things as employees like that?
Oh yeah, but usually they don't know that it was, and they were never told. There wasn't any policy. Usually it's from a new company, right? Like Amanda said, startups. big deal with that.
Right.
Usually with the big corporations, they will typically give you a laptop, and then anytime you get internet access, it's through their VPN.
Right.
And you can't access the internet any other way on that laptop.
Right.
So they kind of lock it down in that respect.
Yep.
But a lot of companies, you can install anything you want, and they give you a lot of freedom that way. But of course, sometimes people don't understand that a lot of the things they install could be essentially malicious, right, especially if it's free. And that's where it comes in. If it's free, you're paying for it somehow.
Right. They say research also revealed 70% of global remote workers connect corporate laptops to the home network, opening a possibility for malware infections. They automatically assume that everybody working at home has malware on their boxes, I guess.
Yeah.
And I would imagine it's all flat network. I mean, I'm a little more anal retentive here. I have 2 different wireless environments and a lab environment, which is right there over my. So I have everything running into a specific subnet. The only place they connect is at the router. So, and I don't have my work device set up to discover other devices on the network, and I have mine hidden from people trying to scan the network. I mean, it seems like that this would be stuff we should tell our customers, in this case our own employees, that these are things that you should not do when you're connecting that, or would it be better if they use the guest network? A lot of wireless devices have a guest network and a regular network. If they used a network different from their home networks that was segmented off of their home network, would that be a better option? Because the guest network doesn't allow you to access any of the other systems.
Yeah, a lot of people, I don't know, either don't have that configured or can't configure it, like if it doesn't come on by default, or, I imagine a bunch of different reasons. Like, we're able to set up our own networking, but most people just plug their shit in and maybe change the password.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm assuming most people's password to their Wi-Fi is still like the MAC address on it.
Yeah, my worry is that, they say getting access to personal devices may not present much of a challenge. 1/3 of remote workers do not have basic password protection on all their personal devices. Okay.
Yep.
I mean, do you have a PIN on your phone?
Yeah.
Or do you use Face?
I have a Face thing.
Face ID. Yeah.
Which I hate now because, okay, a little bit of a pivot of topic. Who thinks that Apple's going to go back to thumbprints now that everybody wears masks?
That's a good point. I don't use thumbprints or Face ID. I have a 10-digit PIN, but I could definitely see them going back to that. Though I have heard that there is face detection technology that doesn't use your whole face.
Retinal scan?
That. Maybe. I could definitely see it doing an iris scan potentially. I think the MPs on the megapixels on some of the cameras might be good enough for it to scan your iris.
I know. Sorry about the.
No, that's. I mean, that's.
I just had that thought the other day.
That is an interesting thought, though. Yeah.
Yeah, because I miss my fingerprint thing, because like a lot of times I'll be messing with my phone in the dark and Face ID does not work half the time, and now it works even less because I use it when I'm in the store or whatever, and now it's rarely gets used.
Right. Well, I know over in China they've been using facial masks a lot longer than people in the U.S. have, and I want to say I saw a story in China about technology in China that has figured out how to identify people either by their walking gait or their their mannerisms or what have you. There's
all
other
of that,
ways
right?
of what's that?
It's all of that.
Right.
You take their height, their gait, their
hair color,
body structure.
Right.
Yep.
All that. And of course, if they get the face, they get the face, and it all adds up.
Right.
Correlates. And I hear it's pretty accurate.
Yeah, I'll have to find that link, see if they have it. But all right. Well,
and the type of clothes you wear.
That's true. That's true. So, all right, closing thoughts about this. Yes, it's bad. I don't see it happening or changing anytime soon because people are going to do what they want to do. You know, the only thing you can do is help your, give out some regular training on how to, protect your people's home networks.
Mm-hmm.
I think a good first step is to issue a policy. Hey, you need to draw a line between corporate data and infrastructure and personal data infrastructure.
Right. And there's like health checks and stuff too that you can turn on for VPNs that force, things to be at certain patch levels and scans to be done and all this other stuff. But
right.
Yep.
Okay. Well, that's good. Okay. Little more somber note here. It says this is an older story, but it still checks out. There's apparently the first death attributed to ransomware occurred. I actually looked to see if there were any updates to this, but the last I heard, German authorities were trying to hold the ransomware people responsible. The not the people who got ransomware, but the people who transmitted the ransomware. The quote unquote bad guys. So the attackers struck a clinic in Dusseldorf, Germany. The IT systems failed, and they said because of the attack, the woman seeking treatment at the hospital Friday night had to be transported to another hospital in another city for treatment 20 miles away. It's interesting because I don't think we've had ransomware directly responsible or implied as being the cause of death. I did try to find out and see if there were anything else like, IoT devices or something like that. What's everybody's thoughts on this? Is it on the hospital for not having proper security, or is it I know ransomware people are bad. That goes without saying. I do find it interesting, like Miss Berlin had told us before the show, once they found out that they'd hit a hospital, they were more than happy to give over the decryption key, which is great. They do have some kind of ethics.
Right.
They're lawful evil or neutral evil.
I don't know. I feel like that's lawful evil.
Yeah. They do have a code of ethics. They do follow them. Oops are bad. We'll go over here and be naughty elsewhere.
Right.
But yeah, they said that following the attack, the systems gradually crashed, preventing the hospital from being able to access data. They said operations were postponed. We were also.
To say.
What's that? Go ahead, please say it.
So, I don't know the circumstances, and it doesn't detail the circumstances of this particular ailment that this person had.
Right.
So, I'm just going to have to go off of just sheer speculation here because I don't know exactly what caused the mortality. However, I'll just go out on a limb and say it's kind of too on the nose.
How so?
It seems like, okay, this woman died under our care,
right?
And we had this attack, and it was bad, and she did die. So I think the cause of death should be, this ransomware attack. It seems like they're using that as an excuse for potentially poor care. I'm not trying to, like I said, I don't know the details.
Right. Well, okay, so
who says she wouldn't have died anyways? Also,
she may have died. Okay, yes, great point. One, she may have died anyway, no matter what they did.
Right.
You don't know what she died of. At least we don't.
Right.
Number two, what the hell are they doing? I mean, doctors should be able to look at a patient, diagnose what's going on, potentially. Okay, is it a heart attack? What are the symptoms? Things like that. Okay, let's go back, 50 years before all this computer stuff. What would have happened then, right? Why do we have to completely shut down the entire hospital and start transporting patients to other hospitals because our computers don't work.
Right.
I mean, that's why you have doctors, to make the hard decisions, not computers. Right. I'm just saying this is kind of suspect, right? I'm a little bit suspicious of the cause of death being mostly attributed to ransomware.
So I did find another article giving a little more insight into it. It was a 78-year-old woman who required. Sorry, I was still looking through. Actually, I've got some audio I'm going to have to cut out about video started and whatever. So they're doing a negligent homicide investigation opened on September 10th. She had an aneurysm. She passed away after being sent to another city. Now, I do know that this is not the first time hospitals have been hit with ransomware. As a matter of fact, back in October 2019, a hospital in Alabama got hit with malware that caused all of their systems to go kersput. And they had to divert people to other hospitals as well. Now, they just happened to not have anybody pass away on the way to another hospital. Or somebody in that hospital didn't pass away because of a failing heart monitor or what have you.
Or if they did, they weren't like, oh, that's specifically because of ransomware. They would have been like, oh, we were providing the same care as we would have if we would have been there, just a different place. I don't know.
Right. And the ransomware, I don't know what it would have taken to fix the aneurysm. Maybe there was some specific machinery that they needed to bust the clot up from the aneurysm or to operate properly. So there's a lot of weird information going on there. They're saying that the inquiry was justified to actually investigate the death as a negligent homicide. The other thing I'm wondering about is if they could blame it on ransomware, does the hospital have to pay for things like wrongful death suits? Because then they could say, well, it was out of our hands. I wouldn't say act of God. I would just say that, oh, we're not responsible. The ransomware did it.
Or do insurance companies?
Do the insurance companies have to pay out on a wrongful death suit?
Would their cyber insurance cover it?
If they had cyber insurance.
No, I don't know. I mean, you could make a case. About 75% of people, this is coming from the Cleveland Clinic, 75% of people with a ruptured brain aneurysm survive longer than 24 hours. Well, that tells me that 25% do not survive longer than 24 hours.
Right. And they're still investigating this. They said if the ransomware did indeed lead to the patient's death, however indirectly, the incident would go down in history as the first of its kind. So somebody from the chief executive of UK Cyber National Security Center, said that this would be the first death. But I mean, I think we're only going to see more of this, right? I mean, not just attacks on hospitals, but eventually we're going to have ransomware shuts down ICU machines and they lose half a dozen people or something like that. No matter how quickly you contact the ransomware artists or bad guys or whatever, you're going to lose those people. And there's nothing they can do because of extrajudicial jurisdictions and, getting multiple law enforcement folks involved. I mean, they're soft targets because they feel like they need to be. So hospitals are like, well, we don't want to put in security because we're saving lives. If you had put in security, would you have saved a life?
Potentially.
Yep. And it really depends on the infection vector, of course. If it was, the chief medical officer clicking on a, I love you link or something like that, or somebody's mining Monero or, the, security guard doing whatever. But, they're going to have to find out how the infection vector happened. So
Brian.
Yes, go ahead.
You audited hospitals back in the day, right?
I did a few, yes.
Okay, so.
Which is why I have such a low opinion of hospital security. So.
these things that detect aneurysms.
Right.
I don't know. Is it an X-ray? Is it a CAT scan? I'm not sure. But do these things hook up to the internet and potentially vulnerable to ransomware? These devices.
Well, okay.
What about,
going based off of all of ours, yes, most of everything was connected to the internet.
I'm not a doctor, but I have stayed at a Holiday Inn Express. So what they do is they do a CT scan, according to MayoClinic.org. They do a CT scan, which is an X-ray exam, to look at 2D slices of the brain. They might do a cerebrospinal fluid test if there's a subarachnoid hemorrhage. There will be most likely red blood cells in the fluid surrounding your brain and spinal cord. So if you've got a head injury that's got an aneurysm in your brain, there will be cerebrospinal fluid and there'll be blood in it. They might do an MRI, which is a magnetic field, uses radio waves to give you detailed slices in 2 or 3Ds. There's a type of MRI that assesses arteries in detail, which is MRI angiography. May detect the presence of an aneurysm. So there's a number of different machines that are involved in doing this, not just necessarily the fixing of it, that could have delayed diagnosis. And I'm not a lawyer, so Dusseldorf Hospital, do not try to use me as legal advice. I have no legal standing whatsoever. But I mean, I could definitely see
especially
ransomware.
In Germany.
Yeah, well, right. And we hear about these hospitals like, well, we can't patch this system because if we do and it breaks, then somebody could die. And we're here to save lives, damn it. We're a hospital. So maybe the CT machine got ransomwared because it's running Windows XP and it's on a flat network and they couldn't do the CT scan, or the MRI system went down because the machines connected to it to control it got owned and they couldn't activate it because they said operations went down. So maybe it was a CT or MRI went down. The delay in deciding whether or not to ship that lady 19 or 20 miles, depending on which news station or story you read, might have caused her death. But
I mean, we were shipped CT machines with preloaded malware before.
Lovely.
From a very, very large organization that everyone knows. They sent us Sasser.
Great. My wife got a brand new phone that got shipped malware. Oh, I'm sorry. No, it's just the preloaded software that they use to try to make the phone cheaper.
So Amanda, is that well known?
No.
What you just said?
We were given a really good deal on their stuff to not ever bring up their name.
Oh my. Well, that's not good.
It was locking because we also had a lot that all of those machines were not patched against it. And it was going through and locking out all of our Active Directory accounts. And we didn't know where any of these boxes were physically, and we had to go and all manually patch them in a hurry.
Right. So, I mean, it's unfortunate that she had to, pass away, and she'll be known in history if it actually goes down as being somebody who passed away because of ransomware. There's a lot of extenuating factors here, whether or not she was diagnosed immediately, if she sat around, what happened, what systems were affected. I'm sure
it would be interesting if they can actually prove that it was caused by ransomware, because
right.
I'm reading another article, 10% die or are gone before they can even get care.
Right.
And that's in a functioning hospital.
What's the end goal of proving that point? If she died of ransomware, great. I'm thinking only from an insurance point of view.
Probably who pays the death suit.
Yeah, I'm thinking of a blame. It's like the new sophisticated thing. It's like, oh, we get we have a letter from Kevin Mandia stating that the attack was sophisticated. Okay, it's not. We don't. Pay up or whatever.
Right.
Either way, she's still not with us anymore. So, I would argue that as we go back to some of the earlier shows we've had this year about embedded systems and vulnerabilities, that hospitals really need to try to figure a way through with this. And I would say definitely add this to your, hey, we need to patch stuff because we don't want people have to go to other hospitals and die. If you want to use that as an example, I think that's going to go in a lot of incident response playbooks for a while, which, I'd love to talk with Miss Berlin about IR playbooks, but we have an interview coming up with stuff like that too, where we can ask that question. But if you have a hospital, you're working at a hospital, you got hit with ransomware and now you got to transfer patients. It's like, get the medical people involved.
Maybe not transfer patients, but if you get certain types of patients, what do you do as a backup? Okay. Right. How do you diagnose without these named systems here? Okay. We're going to have 30% of our systems go down and they are this, let's name them. Right. You can no longer use that. What do you do now?
Yeah. And this is where your stakeholders get involved. When you're doing an incident response, you're going to have to include medical professionals because it's like, oh, well, we just don't have the CT machine. What are we going to do now? Well, we can send them the MRI. Oh, sorry. It's ransomware that's affected the whole system, the whole network. Try again. And then it's like, well, okay, we need to, decide whether to ship them or treat them. We're going to have to work on different diagnostic techniques, et cetera, to decide whether or not those people need to, what's our, if we're going to send those people away, which is the closest hospital with, the similar functioning level 2 trauma center, for instance, or what have you. What is our options for a backup? Because you can't just move to a backup hospital. You have to go and like coordinate with that hospital.
Maybe your fleet of ambulances might have some equipment in there that wouldn't be ransomed because they're separated in some way.
Right. You may start figuring out some inventive ways. Well, okay, the nearest hospital is 40 miles away, but the nearest zoo with a CT scanner is only 20 minutes away. We could probably, send them over there. Yeah. Actually, I think zoos do it the opposite way. I've seen a couple of documentaries on Animal Planet where they sedate tigers and they take them to hospitals and do CT scans on them. I'm like, how the hell do you do that?
Yeah, could you use ultrasound? Fun.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
The vet across the street has an ultrasound machine. So
there you go.
Let's go there and stick that thing on your head and see what we can see.
Yeah. I mean, you may decide, it's not just human hospitals with all that stuff too. If you've got a next level vet hospital, but yeah, I would love to maybe, if anybody out there doing works in medical offices or something.
Or at a zoo.
Or at a zoo. Zoos work too.
Or if your zoo gets ransomware, you could take the animals to the people hospital.
Right.
That's right. Right.
I mean, come on.
Do not open that door. There's a tiger behind it. Yeah. Yeah. I've worked in a hospital too. That was actually my first job back in 1997. I was delivering food trays. I worked in the cafeteria, and I would deliver 500-pound food carts up to the various floors. That was before HIPAA.
I was a candy striper.
Oh. You had the little pink and white uniforms and stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
I was like 12, 13 maybe.
Okay. Yeah, that was before HIPAA too, so it was like I could walk around and look at people's names on doors and their names. So, I got real morbid and I kept looking for my friends' names because I figured, well, they do stupid shit, so probably see them. I actually got one. Actually, when I worked there for about 6 months, somebody actually rolled their car and ended up in the emergency room. So really weird stuff.
That's right. They don't put people's names on doors anymore.
They do not.
That's why it's so hard to find where's Grandpa? I can't find him.
Mm-hmm. Unless you're a family member, you won't find out. All right.
So, what is a candy striper?
It's a volunteer.
Right. So you're either 12 or 13, or like when I worked at St. John's.
And we delivered water.
Oh, that's nice.
And gave directions to people.
Yeah, it's at the reception area, Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And was bored out of my mind most of the time.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yes, and didn't get paid. Uh-oh. You got like $10 or something for the gift shop every month or something. It was ridiculous.
Very nice.
But I got to put it on my first resume. So
very nice. Okay. All right. I think we got time for one more. if you work in the U.S. government, well, we're just hitting all the really poor security, because they can't control their own security. So government, I actually posted this for last week's show, but I thought, oh, we need to do this. It was interesting. So there was a story come out, Zerologon was being forced to be patched by all federal agencies by the 21st of September. And, raise your hand if that actually happened. Nobody's raising their hand. Not everybody got patched, obviously. You can't just, shut down the Department of Energy because they didn't do Zerologon, or the Department of Transportation or the U.S. Navy or what have you. But the U.S. government ordered federal agencies to patch Zerologon by 11:59 Eastern time on the 21st. So if you did it, congratulations. I wonder what it took to actually get that done. From what I understood, that there was a patch plus a registry entry that a lot of people forgot to put the registry entry in. I saw April Murdoch, who we've had on the show, talking about that. She's like, if you didn't add this registry entry, you're still vulnerable to Zerologon. And I was like, ooh, I wonder if the installation instructions said to do that or if it did it automatically. I don't know. But everybody treated this as a level 10, a grave impact if it was used, but it still required you to be on the network to be able to use it. That was one thing I wanted to talk about, was like, we're giving it a 10, but there are caveats. So unless you've got an Active Directory server exposed to the internet, that's really the only way it's a true 10. There's always there's little bits. And I'm sure there's somebody out there going, well, we have our AD system set up to the internets. Apologies. But yeah, I just found it.
Do they sound like that too?
No, they don't. I sound like that. I sound like that. I know people who sound like that, and I love them. They're family, unfortunately. They don't listen to the show. But they said, Windows servers that can't be patched or be taken offline or removed from the network, according to DHS. The short deadline for applying patches was due to the ease of exploitation and severe consequences of successful attack. That might actually be good. If you've got Windows 2003, you're probably not getting patches anymore. So if it can't be patched, you're going to take your 2003 servers offline. So there you go. What an easy way to get rid of some old assets. Oh, sorry, we couldn't patch that. Yes.
Ooh.
Get rid of that mail server. So, let me see. Andrew Robbins, he said, you must prioritize patching over detection with this kind of bug. Is that true?
I don't know.
I would say probably depends on how fast you can do either one.
Right.
You think? Like, if you could patch them all, like in an hour, and you don't need to wait for meetings, or you don't need to wait until someone comes back from vacation or whatever, and you can just get it done. Sure. Yeah. But same thing with the detection. Like, if you have a good system set up where you're like it takes you 10 minutes to create a detection for it, and everything's already covered, and you can get that faster, go for the detection first.
Well, are you going to get the IOCs first, or are you going to get the patch first?
They listed the IOCs in the tweet even.
Right, and that was the other thing that just came out in the last day or two. It was all the POCs for all these various vulnerabilities of Zerologon have been thrown up on GitHub. Hey, look, I created a POC for this. It works great. They're actually being used in ransomware and malware that is, being so people who are out of the badness of their hearts are creating POCs to show how easy it is to create these things, or now their hard work is now being weaponized for bad. Congratulations to them for doing that. Should we, is that just poor thinking on some security researchers' parts by, putting out POCs that may work better than the actual original POCs?
Didn't we have a whole podcast talking about that?
That's what I was going to say. We talked about this with Dave Kennedy.
I think that was a point that we actually didn't raise with Mick Douglas, was that what happens if you put out a tool and it's used, but then the bad guys use it. It's like, this is to show proof that there's actually a POC, and then the bad guys go, oh, well, your POC works better than the one I created, so I'm going to go ahead and use that. I mean, that's actually more realistic, I would argue, than Metasploit or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that would be a reason why you wouldn't want to release an offensive security tool. It's like, okay, look, I've got a working POC. I don't want to broadcast it out. Or leave it in a private repo that I can just show off to potential employers, showing that I can, do exploit development or what have you. I do find it interesting that, this isn't the first story that I've read about where the government's like, yes, you must patch this now. How many government agencies out there don't have a good patching policy, and they just, assume that we're going to, patch it whenever we want to, or, as operations allow. I mean, this is not the first one I've seen. I want to say the other one was the RCE, one of the RCE issues with remote desktop or something like that, or Citrix.
Well, if history is any guide, I would say all of them.
What's that?
You asked how many government agencies don't have a very good patch policy.
Oh, yeah. I wonder how many DHS servers actually got all patched by the deadline, because it would be kind of hypocritical if they've still got systems that ain't been patched. So, but that's just me pointing things out. So, do we have anything else? We did have something on the drovorub malware from Linux, but Ms. Berlin, you said somebody was looking for a copy of that to be able to create IOCs?
No, a friend of mine is learning how to do some DFIR stuff.
Okay.
Like forensics, and he wants to be able to look for the remnants of Linux malware, but he can't do the infection himself. Otherwise, he knows where it's at, and you can't really hunt for it.
Right.
If you put it there.
So he
was looking for something out there that was
already owned by
it's like a kind of like that, or like maybe even a CTF would be all right. That if it's somewhat realistic, right?
Yeah. If anybody has any thoughts there, please hit us up on Twitter or Slack, and help Ms. Berlin's friend out and make yourself feel better. So,
well, the thing about this is it says to be vulnerable or to be invulnerable, you have to have the Linux 3.7 kernel. But the Linux 3.7 kernel came out in December of 2012. So
yes,
I'm sure there's a crap ton of those out there still.
I bet there's a crap ton of systems out there. I worked on Linux systems that were not vulnerable to things because they were so old. The code that was introduced to the system wasn't patched up to that level. So we were running like 2.4 kernels, and they're like, oh no, you got to fix this. It's on 2.4.12 and above. And I was like, well, we're running 2.4.10. We're good. We're running a kernel that's even before the vulnerability was even introduced as part of the code base. So we're good. We've patched ourselves.
It's so like where's Windows the threshold that says, okay, we're so old that nobody has developed any bugs for this in the past 20 years. And then where is that? Okay, if we upgrade, we're gonna be
introducing all of this. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd say Windows 2000 maybe.
I was going to say
Windows
NT.
2000 NT, you're probably fairly safe these days.
Yep.
Unless it's something like COM or OLE related stuff. ActiveX. All the old stuff that's now kind of out of favor. But a lot of the new PowerShell stuff.
60 or older, they're probably going, I've never seen this operating system before. What is this new technology?
That's right. Yep. Wait a minute, it doesn't have a USB stack? What the hell?
Man, this thing's so super secure. No USBs.
Right.
No Bluetooth. What the hell?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What's this flying toaster on here? Screensaver. What the hell? But yeah. So, yeah, it's good times. It's good times. So they have
a Warp, the most secure operating system in modern day.
Easy. I've heard rumors that there's a dump of Windows XP code out there. About 4 gigs worth of stuff. I think somebody posted it on 4chan. Some of our folks at Leviathan.
Are 4chan still a thing?
I hope they're lurking it and they're not active participants. But they did say that it had a lot of Eternal Blue knowledge in there about how they implemented Eternal Blue's fixes, etc. But the first thing I thought of, and I replied to it, I was like, "Oh, look, good news for a React OS fan." Anybody who's using React OS, people who know what a React OS is laughing. It was supposed to be an open source version of Windows. It was supposed to be like true to life, free implementation of Windows back in the day, and it looks roughly.
We see how that went.
Windows XP. I know it just went over 85% of people's heads, and if you
I meant the OS. We see that.
There's still people, man, they love them some Windows XP or they love them some Windows 7. They don't want to upgrade to the evil Windows 10 or Windows 8 or whatever. So, So, do we want to talk about anything else? Anything coming up that Miss Berlin or Mr. Betcher are going to be doing or talking about?
Bunch of stuff.
Okay. Go ahead, Miss Berlin. Let's talk about that, and then we'll go ahead.
I get to take over for my marketing team this week.
Oh my God.
Okay.
So I get to post. They told me I can post anything I want. Just social media.
No. They didn't mean that. Oh God.
Once, what was once a very prospective, fast-growing startup has now tanked.
They said
the goal
anything,
should be
boss.
to get on the front page of a major newspaper.
Oh my God.
There you go.
That's always my goal, man.
Yeah. It's just going to be 24 hours of threat butt, or whatever.
I know. So I mean, if anybody has any suggestions, I'm looking for ideas. I was thinking about doing like an AMA.
Okay.
And then I was told to come up with a T-shirt design, and I kind of want to do like something about Cthulhu security or something. I don't know.
There you go. Just don't use any Leviathan stuff because it's ours. We have a monster motif for ours too.
Yeah, but is it Cthulhu?
We actually have a conference room named Cthulhu in our office, and yeah, but it's not trademarked or anything.
Okay.
H.P. Lovecraft's family might come after you, but
Oh.
Not saying. I'm just saying they are fairly litigious. Just
really?
like the Tolkien family, yeah.
I didn't know that. I have been watching Lovecraft Country, which is super good.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, on HBO.
I'll have to add that to my list of things that I'll have to watch eventually. So, yeah. Mr. Betcher, how have things been with you? What do you got coming up? Anything interesting?
No.
No? Is Bsides virtual Bsides Austin coming up or Bsides Dallas?
I have no idea.
Okay. I went to Bsides. I went to Bsides Edmonton in Canada last week. I found it interesting. But I did it for 8 hours of SANS credit because I need web application pen test credits for my cert. Mm-hmm. So they took them. Thankfully, there was a lot of great discussion. I was actually trying to get several of the speakers to come on the show eventually. A lot of great content there. So there's a lot of B-sides, virtual B-sides coming up. I think there's one pretty much every weekend on a global scale until about mid-November. So B-sides Seattle's next month, like 17th of October. Damn. Isn't it? I've got a conflict now. So, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Berlin. Are you going to be are you going to be speaking anywhere? Doing any other mental health things, or I know
the feel good boxes. The feel good boxes went really well.
I saw that. What was
in
in there?
Out like gosh, we sent out around 20 of them, I think, so far.
Nice.
We did, oh gosh. So I just ordered we probably spent around $2,500 on stuff for them so far. And Megan did half and I did half. And we've got things like water bottles and tea infusers and candy and lockpick sets and candles and coloring books and journals. Some really nice pen sets.
Nice.
We had Greylog gave us some stuff to put in there.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. If you're looking to spend some of your, sales and marketing money, the feel good boxes are great. Put some swag in there, just like conference stuff. So if your company's looking for a way to work their magic and put some swag in some boxes for people, reach out to Ms. Berlin. So
yeah, definitely. I mean, we've had people contact me about sponsoring boxes, so they want to be great. Hey, I gave you the money and you can send it to this person. Sure.
Oh, that's great. Awesome. Right on. So, let's go ahead and finish the show up. So, Miss Berlin, if anybody was really interested in doing about all that cool stuff, how would they get a hold of you?
Well, this next week you can catch me at Brakesec on Twitter.
Dickbutt for days.
Yep, BLUMIRASEC. Okay. I'll probably also be tweeting from my account at InfoSister. And I'll probably be doing a lot of stuff on LinkedIn, as much as it pains me.
Okay.
But yeah, that's me.
Right on. Mr. Betcher, tell us all about what you're doing in your off time. Take off your Batman mask and your Bruce Wayne. What do you do?
Yeah, well, LogMD is the project I work on outside of work, mainly.
Nice.
And we're about to release a new version with a ton of features. So if you want to check that out now and kind of get in on that deal, we are going to have a premium version because we've got so many features now added to it in the future. So we're going to, anyone who does buy Pro, we're going to grandfather them into the premium. So check it out. It's got a lot of IR capabilities and detection capabilities in it. So we have a free version, so check that out, log-md.com. That's what I work on in my free time, as well as, doing the whole homeschooling thing with the little ones.
That's awesome.
Which is a huge time suck, but yeah, at least I'm learning, 6th grade math and stuff like that again.
Right on.
But yeah.
Okay.
That's cool. About it.
Right on. So I went to, like I said, Bsides Edmonton. Thank you to those folks for doing that. Went very smoothly. Didn't have a chance to mention that. Actually, it's been 2 weeks now, not just a week. So it's been 2 weeks since then. But Bsides Edmonton was great. I was actually looking at flights up there. It's only a couple hours by Seattle, and they have nonstop flights with Alaska Airlines. So I could fly up to Edmonton and go to that. It looks like they have a nice dedicated group of folks, and they were working with the uni up there, and I'm hoping that they'll be able to do that in the meat space again next year. Lord willing, the creek don't rise, and looking forward to getting back to some well-mannered frivolity in the meat space with various conferences. But I'm definitely going to try going to more B-sides, because it is I wouldn't say it's a cheap way of getting SANS certs, but I didn't pay anything to go to Bsides Edmonton, and I got 8 hours for SANS cert and 8 hours for my CISP. So, it's better than taking a $5,000 to $7,000 class, in my opinion, for up to half your credits. So, something to think about if you're needing SANS certs. I've got about a year on mine, so I'm trying to get a jump on that before I'm trying to scramble to figure out what I need to do for my GCIH and that. So cool. So you can follow the podcast at Brakesec, BRAKESEC on Twitter. You can follow me, Bryan Brake, BRYAN BRAKE. Mr. Betcher, did we mention your Twitter handle, Betcher Pwned? I think I just did.
You did.
Okay.
Just now.
log-md.com. And Yeah, we have a Patreon. Thank you to all of our Patreon helpers. We call it our tip jar, but it goes to helping with hosting fees, which I think we just paid $150 for another year and a half of breakingsecurity.com. It pays for Zoom fees, which we use to great extent for the podcast and for training that people like PonySec give us, which is great. Also for our book club, we're still doing the IDCAR book for that. It's going really well. We're going to do chapters 3 and 9 on the 8th of October. So if you still want to join us, it's a really short book. It's actually an ebook as well. I'm considering it's like if you want to hack your organization, this book will help you figure out how to get greater impact into the changes that you would like to make in your organization. Help you figure out who's going to help you implement that change, be a good sponsor. There's a little managing up where you may have to engage with the sponsor and coach them on how to be a good change agent. Recognize that you're not the one with the power, that they are, in fact, which is why some of your changes may sometimes fail. Communications plan would be, helping them send out proper emails to highlight what's going on with the changes and figuring out how those changes are going to be implemented. So there's a lot of great stuff there. A lot of interesting feedback that we're getting. We actually have people who are like, yes, I've got something I want to bring to the group, and we're going to talk through it and see how we can help them get that established. So if you're interested in doing that, you can send us a tweet to Brakesec on Twitter or email bds.podcast@gmail.com. We meet every 2 weeks, and the book, I think, is less than $20. And it's not InfoSec, but I really think if you're wanting to move towards more of a senior position or manager position, this is a book that you should look at as like kind of like what Mr. Betcher told me, Thinking Fast and Slow. That was a book that I was like, oh my God, it boggles the mind. This is another one where I was like, I'm not doing shit right. I should be doing it this way. And so far it's actually been doing fairly effective at work. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to continue on with process improvements and doing things like job descriptions and trying to get them more realistic, more inclusive. And that was one of the things that I helped bring about. So I'm really happy about that. Anyway, we have a TPub store. You can go to our breakingsecurity.com website, BRAKEING security.com. All the show notes have links to every platform that we're on, including Apple, iTunes, Google Podcast. We are now in the Amazon podcast store, which is pretty awesome. iHeartRadio, pretty much any place that you can get podcasts from, we are in. So there should be no reason why you can't find us. Just search for Breaking Security, BRAKEING security.com. Cool. That's it for this week. Thank you all for coming on. I'll see you all on Tuesday, hopefully. When the interview occurs, I'll be sending an email to that person and their PR company asking them if they're going to be able to make it on Tuesday. Looking forward to that interview. That's a long time in coming, and I hope that we'll be able to get them on and have a good hour discussion with them about, I think I can say vulnerability management. So we're going to be talking about vulnerability management disclosure. So without letting anything out. So. Thank you both for joining, and I hope you all have a good week.
Yeah, me too.
Cool. Bye. All right. So that was it. Have a great week. Be kind to one another, please. I know as we get towards the end of the year here, it's getting a little harder every day. Try to hold your tongue if you can. Remember that you need to take care of yourself because you're the only you have. And we'll talk to you again soon.